first on Monday morning. Lovely to have you with us. Let's look at some of this morning's political headlines. A Whitehall report into lockdown-breaking parties in Downing Street is so damning that senior officials believe it could leave Boris Johnson with no choice but to resign. The Times has been told by people familiar or sources familiar with what will be in Sue Gray's report. Let's discuss some of the political stories of this morning with Lettice Bromovsky, political commentator and contributor to Young Voices UK. Lettice, good morning.
Morning, Callum. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Does this surprise you that Sue Gray, who I keep referring to as mythical, given how long we've been waiting for her actual report, but does it surprise you how critical it seems this report is going to be?
I mean, I wouldn't say surprise, and a bit like you say, this sort of mythical report we have at the moment coming out, which we can already tell it's going to be a few more months till we receive it, because we have to wait until first the Met Police have included their investigations and handed out all of their fines, and then the Privileges Committee once they've concluded their investigations. So right now we're looking at a few months until we can actually see what these incredibly damning things that are being spoken about. We know that from Gray's interim report, it focused a lot on the failures of leadership and judgment in government, which was already particularly damning for Boris. And last week was yet another tough week for him, with more senior officials and MPs calling for his resignation, such as Steve Baker. But we know Boris attended 6 of these 12 parties that are being investigated, one of which he's already received a fine for. And there is this expectation that he's going to receive another fixed penalty notice from the Bring Your Own Booze party that was hosted in May. So I'm not quite sure what is going to be so more damning on top of all of this that will ultimately cause his downfall.
Boris Johnson insists, of course, that he won't quit. He suggested that the issue does not matter to voters, which is perhaps too sweeping a generalisation from him in terms of it mattering, I think. I think that's objectively fair to say, because it does matter to some voters. I think that is the truth. And I suppose somebody's degree of concern may not be the same now as it is when investigations, of which there are many, as you've outlined. So your level of concern about this may fluctuate depending on what these reports actually contain.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that. And that is a lot of what people are saying, is that there's so many other important issues going on right now that this is merely a distraction for Boris. You know, as you just said a moment ago on the front page of the Mirror, it's saying that 52% of households are going to be unable to pay for their bills this summer. And there's the potential for inflation rising to 10%. Let's be clear, this is an important investigation and it has merit. But for right now, I believe there are significantly more important issues, both domestically and internationally, that need Boris's attention, and that's where it should be.
Well, perhaps one of them isn't the following, but as we continue our look at some of the political stories of this morning, let's consider this. Boris Johnson facing a cabinet backlash over Jacob Rees-Mogg's, quote, Dickensian plans to force civil servants back to the office. He suggested that civil servants could lose extra pay, so London waiting is a sort of top-up, I suppose, on top of salaries to account for how expensive it is to live and work in London. So Rees-Mogg suggested that they could lose that unless they went back to their desks. At the end of last week, there was several viral posts of pictures of notes that Jacob Rees-Mogg was leaving on vacated desks that said, "Sorry you were out when I visited. I look forward to seeing you in the office very soon." He is the Minister for Brexit Opportunities. His brief includes government efficiency. Would it be more efficient if civil servants were back at their desks?
I mean, I come at this probably from both sides. As someone myself who had to start my job in the middle of, in the middle of COVID, meaning that it was all on Zoom, it was all, virtual. And there were some that it does create a bit more of a difficult environment in getting to know your colleagues and people like that, And so I do sort of understand where he's coming from. But he has now been accused of being rather out of touch with the modern office. Nadine Dorries, the culture secretary, has seemed to be arguing against this, saying that they should be judged for their productivity and not always seeing the office. And, she is right on that. But I do believe that we should now, post-COVID, live in a more hybrid world. And that does mean going in about 3 days a week. And I think there is a lot of merit to people going in 3 days a week, not only for your mental health, making you get up out of bed, go outside, but also for helping businesses when you buy your lunch outside or you get your morning coffee. There are many other merits for people getting up, going into work, getting back to this sense of normality.
I think what's interesting, Lettice, in the context of this story is what you've outlined there, is that there is a split in the cabinet. It is yet another issue where there is seemingly not consensus. And I just wonder how many of these issues are bearable for a cabinet such as this that is potentially splitting down so many different lines at this point.
Yeah, no, and they are very split at the moment. And I think a lot of that is circulating around what we were just discussing around Boris and people being conflicted over whether he should stay and if that's right for the party right now, or whether he should go and there should be a leadership election, whether he's more damaging for the party right now or not. And I think a lot of this is emulating from around that. And one of the big tells, and I think what will be a major event coming up, will be these local elections on the 5th of May. If this is a bad night for the Conservatives and they do not perform well, I think there is a significantly greater chance that a Tory rebellion will be coming.
Yeah. Lettice, really good to speak to you. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, Callum.
Cheers. That's Lettice Bromovsky, political commentator and contributor to Young Voices UK, guiding us through some of the political stories that you can read more about in The Times or online at thetimes.co.uk. So 5